bet you had a similar thought. Like when I came here, I was worried about how I was going to measure up to my classmates, and wondering because I hadn't been in a traditional industry or traditional business setting, whether or not I was going to be able to, think, up to par with my classmates, or whether or not they would value my opinions. So I had kind of a lot of anxiety around that.
Can you remind us what did you do before?
I was a farmer before I came to Haas, and I did some farm advising also.
So before coming to Haas, I was an athlete with Nike in track and field. Competed in the 2008 Olympics, and pretty much I can't even say that I advised anyone. I literally jumped for a living and did some volunteer activities in my free time. And it's been a journey, and I can't say it's still been scary. Like going through the first year here for me, at least with all the classes. I mean, I'd never even taken an economics class before, not even in high school. I don't know how I escaped that. I did some serious humanities classes that tested me out of that. I don't know, but now I'm looking back at my high school and being like, you did me a huge disservice. But yeah, so for me, I'm still learning, and I'm not sure I'm fully adjusted, but I'm definitely happy that I'm doing this, and
There's a lot of people that are going to talk a lot during class. That doesn't mean they're more intelligent or less intelligent. Just pick up your mind, even if it's politically incorrect. It's going to be fine. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Totally fine. Speak your mind. If people don't like it,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. It will probably add some value to the conversation.
I think the most interesting things that I've learned in class came from people that had a radically different perspective as the one that I had.
Patrick?
Absolutely. So feel free to speak your mind.
I disagree.
It was during O week, week 0.
For us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget going into the introduction to the case prep.
Yeah. We had that.
The professor's up there introduces the Virgin Airlines.
Yeah.
And when it comes time, starts asking questions from students. And I'd met everyone before. Everyone seemed great, but we hadn't really gotten into the businessy aspects of things. But then they start talking, and sometimes I didn't understand the response at all. I didn't understand the terms they were throwing out, or it was just like, wow, I would never have considered, I would have never thought about it that way. And I was finding it very hard to follow up any of their comments with anything of my own. It was just to me, it was a very disjointed conversation, and I was on my heels in many ways. It was like, that was my feeling of realizing that I was in a new environment, and began to realize, okay, how can I add value here? And I didn't figure out in that short hour, I didn't figure out how to really come in and add value to my classmates. But that became the challenge for that fall A, or just that became my challenge: is how do I contribute? How can I add value? And realized that it was my 11 years of service and the leadership experiences I was in, things of that sort, that were probably going to be most appreciated.
Like for me, like talking in class, like there are times when I'm reminded of that, like there are people who are somewhat expert in the industry, and they'll talk in class, and I'm like, yeah, I could never have come up with that. But other times, it's kind of like, it just reminds me a lot of undergrad in a way that like, this is like a classroom setting, like I'm familiar with this, I've been in a classroom before. So kind of just readjusting to that, like, yeah, I've been to school before, but then bringing like industry expertise, I obviously don't have that from our coursework standpoint. But I mean, our classmates and professors, they value like just insightful thought, and I feel like you can bring that from no matter what background you're from. That doesn't matter.
And then I've also been learning, like, early on in, like, especially my core classes, literally just speaking up and saying, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you meant by, that, 3 slides back. And so I got more comfortable expressing what I didn't know, because I started realizing that if I don't understand it, I'm probably not alone. And so I think just being able to speak up and ask those questions started the process of where I could actually add my own comments.
I thought it was interesting how people with a finance background would say they know nothing about marketing, and they would, and or people from a marketing background be like, I know nothing about finance. So I think part of it's just the students here are there's a lot of humility because they excel, it seems, in all the areas, but also just willing to admit that they're not experts in all subjects. So I think it fosters a good openness in the classroom where,
no one's claiming that they know everything, and that's also what's exciting. It's you realize, more than you realize, that you'll actually be able to fill a gap that someone else has. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely open to learning from other people, and I want them to fill those learning gaps that I have. And then I realize our classmates are just as eager for.
The biggest difference is that the classrooms are much smaller than in Austria. I think a fifth of the size. People are much more engaged and open. They offer their opinions at any time. And what helped me a lot was actually that professors were really open and approachable. I could talk to them about any topic, and even if I made some mistakes in class, they were not only forgiving, they were happy to explain if something is wrong or not the way they think.
Either I'm oblivious or just very naive, but I'd say my interactions are very positive with people, and people value my background and, show no signs of discrimination. But, maybe it's there, I don't know. Maybe people talk about that farmer in class and how stupid he is. But I wouldn't know. At least Haas do a great job of keeping it under wraps. Can edit that part out.
How did I add to the study team? I think it's just everyone's own. The challenge, everyone faces the challenge of finding their own authentic voice and way to add value, and you'll figure it out. You just probably start. It makes sense. Probably a good call to keep your mouth shut. Maybe initially, if you don't have anything that comes to mind, just sort of get familiar with what the environment is, and be looking for that way you can come in and bring a unique perspective or pick up on a.
So, unlike other international students, I was here in this country for the last 3 years, 1 year at Haas and 2 years prior to that. But I felt more as a part of this country and this community during my time at Haas than before. So this clearly says out how inclusive this whole culture and community is. I didn't feel so much to be part of US, and I always felt like I've come from some other land and I don't understand this culture before Haas. But here, people are here from 40 countries. Everybody is pretty much being who they are. That's what the best part of Haas community is. It loves you for being what you are, and it loves your perspective. So many people come to me to ask about India. Half of the class is doing IBD. They really want to understand the world out in Asia there, and professors welcome your input in class. So I feel this is the ideal place which kind of is informing me about the US culture as well as letting me be myself. And on top of that, they really have a place for me as a mother as well. So everybody loves my baby here. And that's the best part.
That's great.
So for me, the transition was actually quite easy because I just tried to stay open and talk to a lot of second years. They were extremely helpful by explaining me some cultural differences I just didn't understand in the beginning. And I also had the big advantage of living with a second year for the first 3 weeks. And she helped me out a lot not to make too many mistakes.
Actually, this is for me, first time to live outside of Japan, but it's actually really great living in California. People is great, and especially the Haas people is so nice. And when I brought him to the school event in the courtyard, everyone prayed with him, and he's so excited. So it's great. Nice.
I like this UC village very much, because his favorite playground is just in front of our house. So we can meet many people who has families. So
my baby, so I gave birth during October. It was right after our first quarter ended.
Oh man.
Yes, fall A ended and before fall B. Timing wise, it worked perfectly for me because there was a career break in between. But at times it was a bit challenging. And again I said like there were a few people at that time, especially like my study team. Was the first set of people with whom I came quite close to, and they were so excited for my baby. They made me feel so special. I remember one of my classmates, Andrew Myers, and his wife. They were so helping. They even offered help to, shuttle my parents from home to the hospital while we are in the hospital. So this made us feel like so special and made us feel so comfortable that some.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you come with a partner, there's extra challenges. I mean, you know that, Ria, right? So it's like if you come with a partner, you arrive here, and what neither me nor Charlotte expected that I would be like running like a crazy person from the first day of O week. It's just craziness from there until the end of the semester, basically in December. And of course, for her it's more difficult. She has to wait for her work permit, or sometimes partners can't work at all. So I'm gone all the time. She's at home all the time, or just trying to find work, networking her ass off, but still like by herself. So that was, these first 2-3 months were very difficult. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was tough for also for the relationship, but I think it's fully rewarded now for what we got now.
Very loud!
Okay guys, so there are 3 things you really need to know about Americans. So all the internationals out here, listen carefully. 3 things about international. Number 1, they love to drink light beer. It sucks, you have to drink it. Number 2, they like to wear tank tops. Yes, they don't know anything about fashion, just follow along. 3, you need to call them bro or buddy.
Bro.
Man, I used to call people man, that doesn't work. They look at you like, what is this idiot saying? Bro or buddy. Remember, it's gonna change your life.
And your experience in Haas.
I feel totally at ease. I feel just as easy as at home. I mean, there's some funny things, right? Like, for example, if you call people, they'll never pick up, and like they will never call you back unless you leave them a message, which I only got about after 6 months, that you actually have to leave a message for them to reply. Yeah, just the whole habit of if you ask somebody a question and the answer is no, they normally just don't reply, which is extremely annoying, especially if you're trying to set up a business or something, right? Like, not at Haas. I mean, at Haas, your classmates, they can't really avoid you, so they'll normally give you a response. But if you ask any outside advisor or somebody from another company or anything, you write them an email and it never comes back, and you kind of wait for it for a week or two, because in Switzerland, the answer would just be no, I don't have time, or sorry, can't do this right now. While here, if the answer is no, it's just, there's no answer. I guess it's this thing of being polite to everybody, which is really cool, which is also makes for very nice small talks, and everybody's always friendly to each other, but it is a bit, yeah, you have to adapt your expectations.
California, here we come, right back where we started from.
I actually attended a business case competition with an American and a friend from Thailand, and we worked with Bosch on electric cars, which was, first of all, through Haas, so amazing experience, and second of all, working with an American and a friend from Thailand, we came up with an idea for self-driving cars, which I myself would have never come up with. And I think that especially the cultural differences and the diverse backgrounds we all brought to the table made it for us much easier to come up with an exciting idea.
I mean, the resources of the Leicester Center and all the other entrepreneurship resources are really cool, and they're great to put you in touch with people. but the people that really helped me is just the people around me. Like for example, Albi, our German friend, right? I mean, he used to be a former consultant. He made all our presentations look so perfect. You know, like it's really, I mean, it's small things, but you go to, and then I went to somebody else for our first financial model that we did. I got help from somebody else for the marketing part, and it's just really cool. You just have people that have done this, cutting edge, you know, like Jana, she's worked at Facebook, and it's just really cool to have all these people, and they're all willing to help you. It's incredible. Like you write them an email, they normally give you like half a day of their really, really busy week. It's just really
stuck in the middle of the sea. I'll sail the world to find you.
At Haas, European students serve a very specific purpose, which is to make really inappropriate comments using a cute/obnoxious accent.
Find out what we're made of.
Weekend up here.
Hey, for those of you who are coming from far, far away, that's gonna be a change. Expect it. That's what you're here for, right? So don't hold back. Enjoy the ride. Everything's gonna be fine.
My advice is if you have an idea and you come to business school with an idea, right? You just have to talk to everybody about it. Like even if it's just a vague idea, but you think like you want to bring it into some classes, just mention it to everybody I meet. I mean, I talked about WeTravel. It didn't have a name back then, right? But I talked about my travel startup idea to anybody that would listen to me, basically. Because it really helps you. Then people will know a little bit about what you want to do. And then there's plenty of classes to bring your class to your idea into.
It's funny that like a lot of times I don't want to say the obvious in class or what seems obvious to me in class, and then you realize like everyone kind of has that obvious thing that's really obvious to them, but it's not necessarily obvious to everyone. But I mean, I still won't say it a lot of times, and then eventually no one will say it and the professor will, and I'm like, oh, should have said something. But I think it's just knowing that what's obvious to us is not obvious to other people, and that's just the product of our backgrounds.
You know, you got accepted to Haas. Great, that's huge. You're on the roster. You just use a sports analogy. You made the roster, and that's huge. But the challenge is now start doing your warm-ups and get out on that field. Get in the game. Don't sit on the sidelines. Warm up and get in. You're not going to be in for every play, but that's the goal here. So start working yourself into things. It's going to be difficult at first, but that's where you find the reward. Is when you.
And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do.